Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rehab with Bianca, where I'm going to teach you how to better understand your body by means of exercising and rehab. So, I know I said in the previous episode, I'm going to talk about episode 2.1 about how to train your muscles, but I saw a video about cold plunging, and I thought it would be very cool to do a video on cold plunging due to the weather being so cold. And yeah, it's quite interesting. So I decided to write the two topics on two papers, and I'm going to cite today what we're going to talk about. Okay, so here's the two papers. I'm going to switch it, schommel it. Okay, I'm going to choose this one. Okay, let's see. Oh wow, okay, we're actually going to talk about cold plunge. Okay, that's very cool. So I did some research on it. I did saw a video. It's on and I'll put the Instagram name here somewhere. So they explained it very scientifically, and I did go read the article that they referenced in the video. I just really want to explain it so that everyone can understand it. Okay, so we're going to talk about, does cold plunging actually work? So welcome to episode 2.1, where we talk about cold plunging.
Rehab with Bianca.
So what is cold plunging? So cold plunging is submerging yourself into freezing cold water. Okay, firstly, I want to talk about our nervous systems because that's actually a very big thing when you consider doing cold plunging. So we have two types of nervous systems. We have sympathetic and parasympathetic. So parasympathetic is when you're in your rest and digest. So that's when you're very relaxed. You don't have any like stress and stuff like that. Whereas sympathetic, you're in your fight or flight. Okay, so that's when your heart rate increases, where you have adrenaline, maybe dopamine, stuff like that. So when our bodies get um, exposed to extreme weather conditions like very cold or very hot, we tend to go into our sympathetic nervous system. So if you have like a line and there's parasympathetic and sympathetic, you want to actually be in the middle. We'll talk about that a bit later, like in another episode, because that's HRV. So HRV. And that's actually where you want to be optimally between your two nervous systems. So when you get exposed to more cold or more heat, you go more into your sympathetic nervous system. And that can actually be beneficial for your body if you do it correctly. Okay, so the three hormones that get secreted when your body is exposed to cold, it's dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. So dopamine is the feel-good hormone, so the one that like you lacquer. Okay, and then norepinephrine and epinephrine is adrenaline hormones. Okay, so that gets secreted while doing a cold plunge. So when these hormones are secreted, it causes your heart rate and respiratory rate to increase. So meaning that your heart rate gets increased, meaning your heart boom, 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 boom faster, and your breathing gets increased. So the amount of times that you're breathing. And it also increases your blood vasoconstriction. So your blood vessels are here and now it's going like smaller. Okay, so it constricts. So when, let's say you're in a shower and the water is nice and warm and you suddenly turn it to cold, it causes your heart rate to increase and then you suddenly like start breathing more like because it's a shock to your body and it's a sudden temperature change. So your body goes into a sympathetic nervous system. So nervous system response. So how can these symptoms be beneficial for your body? So when you go into your sympathetic nervous system response, it causes your body to go into like a survival mode, meaning that all your blood gets shunts to the most important part of your body, which is your core, because there is organs that needs blood and oxygen, and the blood from your extremities are not that important, so it needs to go to the most important part of your body to keep you alive, basically, because you're basically in survival mode. So it means that more blood is getting secreted or transferred to the fatty area of your body, because your most of your fat is like in your core area. And while talking about fat, we have two types of fat, which is very important in this case. So we have white fat and brown fat. White fat is the slash bad fat, like the fat that you don't want. Brown fat is like the fat that keeps you warm, basically. So when high blood supply goes to your brown fat, it causes the mitochondria that's in your brown fat to have an increased blood supply. So let's quickly talk about the mitochondria in the blood. So we're now not in the blood, in the fat. So we are now in the brown fat. So in the brown fat, you have mitochondria. So if you have biology or had biology, you'll know that mitochondria is like the cell that makes energy, and it usually makes energy for metabolic purposes, so increasing your metabolic rate and stuff like that. So in this case, the mitochondria makes energy to produce heat. Okay, so it's not the same mitochondria energy that produces ATP to help you digest carbohydrates and all that stuff. That's different. Okay, so this mitochondria causes you to generate heat and using energy to generate heat. So the heat that's being made by the mitochondria warms up your body again. And that's activated through your sympathetic nervous system. So think about it. When you drive and someone drives in front of you and you're like very angry and like, oh, you get warm. You suddenly like your cheeks get warm, your core gets warm, and you're very angry or you're shocked or whatever. That's because you went into your sympathetic nervous system, and that mitochondria got activated by producing heat because there's more blood supply to the mitochondria. Okay, so we want more mitochondria in our brown fat. So for us to have more mitochondria in our brown fat, we need to have more exposure to our sympathetic nervous system. But if you have exposure to your sympathetic nervous system in unhealthy ways, that can be bad for your body, meaning that you have more stress and stuff like that. So now using temperature causes our body to have a increased mitochondria in our brown fat on a healthier way. So having an increased blood flow to our brown fat can increase our mitochondria heat production, and mitochondria gets more into your brown fat. So it doesn't mean you're getting fat. It just means that the energy cell in the brown fat increases and gets more, and it causes your body to have a 15% increase in your metabolic rate, meaning that you're going to have an increase in energy, you're going to have an increase in fitness, you're going to have an increase in ATP production, a lot of better metabolic function. So metabolic means it's like your digestion and stuff like that. So if you have an increased mitochondria in your brown fat, meaning you have more mitochondria cells in your brown fat, it causes an increase in your metabolic rate, meaning that your digestion and and energy and everything with your metabolic rate increases, which is very good because, like I said, it increases your energy, your fitness, stuff like that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the benefits of cold plunging. So reducing inflammation. So, as everyone knows, when you have a sudden injury, the first thing you're going to do is you put ice on that injury because it also causes the blood that's at that injury to have a vasoconstriction, meaning the blood flow is less and the blood goes back to your body, heating up your body and reducing the inflammation blood in that area. So, let's say you do have inflammatory disease like rheumatoid arthritis. It's inflammation in your joints, and you do occasional cold plunging. It can actually help you reduce inflammation in your body. Okay, the second benefit is the immune system. So cold plunging helps increase white blood cells. So they did an experiment where they chose a few like workers at a business, and they told them to do cold plunging like every day, and then they saw that they are getting less sick than the other people in the working environment. So I think they had like 29% less work absence than the other people who didn't do the cold plunging. But there's also a lot of research that still needs to be done on that. Then the third thing that I also think is a very valid benefit is it reduces your stress, anxiety, and depression. So you get a secretion of dopamine, meaning that it does elevate your mood. So when you're done with a cold plunge, you're like a natural high and you laugh and it's funny and you like it's a natural secretion of dopamine and like I said a natural high. So it's a sudden feel good feeling, like the same with exercise. After exercising you just feel lacquer. So even though you know the stress of the cold is coming, you still go uncontrollably, involuntarily into your sympathetic nervous system, meaning that you train your sympathetic nervous system to be less reactive to it. So let's say you start doing cold plunging, you train your body to react in a stressful environment less reactive. So let's all say you are in a stressful environment, for example, driving or working with someone or in a very stressful environment, and you go into your sympathetic nervous system, your body is more likely to be more relaxed and having you helping you having more clear thoughts than just going into your sympathetic nervous system and not like having control over your stress and your anxiety and the amount of sympathetic nervous system response that your body is going through. So getting your sympathetic nervous system to be trained to better handle stressful situations, cold plunging can help with that. So that's quite cool. And then it reduces then your all day living stress because you're going to better handle stress because you know that your nervous system is being activated. Now you're going to like treat it better, if that makes sense. Okay, the next benefit is that it showed like cold plunging help with muscle soreness. So that is the most common benefit of cold plunging. So it helps with muscle soreness, just like the way that when you were done with a rugby or netball game and you had to go sit in a ice bath, it's the same. So it does help with muscle soreness. So for example, if you do exercise and it's a very strenuous exercise and you do a cold plunge, it's going to help with muscle soreness. Okay, how to do a proper cold plunge. So in the article, it explained that you have to do it up to your neck. It should be cold enough for you to get out, but also to stay in for a few minutes. And then it's also suggested for you to do 11 minutes per week. So you can divide that 11 minutes into any days of the week like you want to. And then that is basically that about cold plunging. So I think it's a very cool aspect to use while doing rehab, while taking care of your body, especially if you do have a lot of inflammation. If you do have depression, anxiety, stress, it's not the most fun way, but it really does have a lot of benefits. And while it's now as cold as it is in South Africa, what other time is the best time to do cold plunging? So get out, go into nature, get the tub, fill it with ice and water, leave it outside. It's going to be cold enough for you the next morning to do a cold plunge. And just see how that benefits your body, getting a bit out of your comfort zone and testing new strategies that's healthy and good for your body. Okay, thank you for watching this video. I promise with our next video, we're going to do oh, it's understandable, how to train our muscles. And then we're going to talk about that. So I hope you have a lovely day and like, subscribe, follow, share, comment, everything. If you do have questions, you're more than welcome to ask, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Okay, see you soon for episode 2.2 where we're going to talk about how to train your muscles.